Dragon Emperor rejected every gift until a human orphan gave him a handmade thank you card. The dragon's roar shattered every window in the imperial palace. Emperor Vaxith, oldest of the ancient worms, threw another golden statue across the throne room. It crashed through a marble pillar, sending dust and debris everywhere. Another insult, he snarled, smoke curling from his nostrils. The latest offering lay scattered across the floor. Priceless gems, enchanted weapons, a crown made from starlight itself. All rejected, all worthless. Commander Kyle Harrison watched from the doorway, his hand instinctively moving to his sidearm. Useless against a dragon, but old habits died hard. He'd been stationed at the Imperial Palace for 3 months now, ever since humanity joined the Galactic Council. Every species sent gifts. Every gift got destroyed. The Zelkari Collective sends their regards. Vaxith's advisor, a nervous bird-like alien named Chirik, squeaked from behind a toppled throne. They hoped the tribute would please you. Please me? Vax's eyes blazed amber. They think I can be bought like some common merchant? I have ruled for 10,000 years. I have wealth beyond measure. What could they possibly offer that I don't already possess? Kyle had heard this speech 17 times now. Different words, same fury. The Dragon Emperor had everything. Power that could level cities, magic that bent reality, treasures that made kings weep. And he was utterly, completely miserable. Clear this garbage out, Vaxith commanded, his massive form shrinking as he took his humanoid shape. Still imposing at 7 feet tall, bronze scales glinting under dark skin, and tell the next fool who comes bearing gifts that I'll incinerate them on sight. The palace staff rushed in, carefully collecting the rejected treasures. Kyle noticed a young girl among them, maybe 10 years old, with brown hair tied back in a ponytail. She wore the simple gray uniform of the orphan workers, kids who earned their keep through palace maintenance. Her name tag read, Lily. She moved efficiently, gathering scattered gems into a basket. But she kept glancing at the Emperor, her green eyes thoughtful rather than fearful. Strange, considering most adults couldn't meet Vax's gaze without trembling. You there, Vaxis called out, pointing at Lily. Child, why do you stare? The room went silent. Every staff member froze. Kyle's hand moved back to his weapon. Lily straightened up, hugging her basket. I was just thinking, Your Majesty, that you look sad. Chirik nearly fainted. 2 guards moved forward, ready to pull the girl away, but Vaxith raised a hand, stopping them. His expression was unreadable. Sad? He repeated, the word foreign on his tongue. I am the Dragon Emperor. I do not experience sadness. Oh, Lily said simply. She went back to collecting gems, seemingly unbothered by the tension crackling through the air. Kyle exhaled slowly. Crisis averted? Maybe. But something about that brief exchange stuck with him. The way Vaxic hadn't immediately lashed out. The flicker of something in those ancient eyes. Recognition, perhaps. Or worse, understanding. 3 days later, the situation escalated. The Corvan Empire arrived with a delegation of 50 ships, each one carrying gifts more extravagant than the last. Kyle stood on the landing platform as cargo containers descended, each one guarded by heavily armed soldiers. This is going to be a disaster, muttered Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez, Kyle's second-in-command. She wasn't wrong. They'd received intel that the Corvans had spent their entire planetary budget on these gifts. If Vaxith rejected them, it could spark an interstellar incident. The Corvan ambassador, a towering insectoid with iridescent blue chitin, approached the throne room with confidence. Behind him, servants carried chests overflowing with technology so advanced it seemed like magic. Weapons that could pierce dimensional barriers. Ships capable of faster-than-light travel without gates. A device that could terraform dead worlds in hours. Vaxis sat on his throne, looking bored already. Kyle positioned himself near the exit, just in case things went south fast. Great Emperor, the ambassador began, his translator rendering his clicks into smooth English. We offer you the finest achievements of Corvan science. With these gifts, you could expand your empire to every corner of the galaxy. You could rule not just this world, but thousands. I already rule thousands of worlds, Vaxith said flatly, through vassals and treaties. Why would I want more? The ambassador faltered. Power, Your Majesty, ultimate power. I am already powerful. Vaxith stood, and the temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. You offer me tools to do what I can already do. You waste my time with redundancy. But these are unique, one of a kind. Get out. Vax's voice resonated with ancient magic, shaking the very foundations of the palace. "Take your trinkets and leave my sight. Tell your empire that the Dragon Emperor cannot be impressed by mere objects." The ambassador backed away, his confidence shattered. As the Corvins retreated, Kyle saw genuine fear in their eyes. Not just fear of Vax's power, but fear of returning home empty-handed. They'd gambled everything on this. As the throne room cleared, Kyle noticed Lily again. She was sweeping near one of the side entrances, but she'd stopped to watch the whole exchange. When she saw him looking, she didn't look away. Instead, she walked over. "Commander Harrison," she said quietly. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure, kid. What's up? Why does everyone keep giving the Emperor things he already has?" Kyle blinked, out of the mouths of children. "That's a good question. I guess they don't know what else to do. But if he has everything, then giving him more stuff won't make him happy." Lily frowned, thinking hard. "My friend Danny back at the orphanage. He's like that sometimes. He has lots of toys people donate, but he's still sad because his parents died. Toys don't fix that." Something cold settled in Kyle's stomach. He'd been so focused on the political implications, on preventing incidents, that he'd missed the obvious. Vaxith didn't want things. He wanted something no one had thought to give him. "What does help Danny?" Kyle asked. "Talking to him, being his friend, understanding that he's hurt." Lily shrugged. "Simple stuff, I guess." Before Kyle could respond, an alarm blared. His communicator crackled to life. "Commander, we have a situation. The Zelkari fleet is approaching with hostile intent. They're demanding compensation for their rejected gifts." Kyle's blood ran cold. "Battle stations. Get the Emperor." The next hour descended into chaos. Zelkari had brought 20 warships, their weapons primed and ready. They positioned themselves in orbit, their leader broadcasting demands across all channels. "The Dragon Emperor has insulted us for the last time," the Zelkari commander announced. "We demand reparations. We demand respect. Or we will take it by force." Vaxith appeared on the palace roof, his full dragon form erupting into the sky, massive wings spread wide, scales gleaming like molten gold in the sunlight. He was magnificent and terrifying, a creature of pure destructive power. "You dare threaten me?" His voice boomed across the atmosphere, reaching the ships above. "I have destroyed species for less. I have ended civilizations with a thought." Weapons locked onto him. 20 ships, each capable of glassing a continent, against one dragon, no matter how powerful. Kyle's tactical display lit up with red. This was it. This was how the fragile peace shattered. Humanity would be caught in the crossfire, and there was nothing he could do about it. Then Lily appeared on the roof. She'd somehow slipped past every guard, every security measure. She stood there in her gray uniform, small and vulnerable, holding something in her hands. "Your Majesty," she called out, her voice barely audible over the wind. "I made you something." Vaxith turned, fury and confusion warring on his draconic features. "Child, this is not the time." "I know everyone keeps giving you expensive things," Lily continued, walking forward. "But I'm just an orphan. I don't have money or magic or fancy stuff, so I made this instead." She held up a piece of folded paper. A card, handmade, with drawings on it done in colored pencils. Kyle could see it through his scope. Simple stick figures. A dragon and a small girl. Arts drawn around them. Words written in careful, childish handwriting. "It's a thank you card," Lily explained, "for letting me work here, for giving me a home when I had nowhere to go. I know it's not much, but I wanted you to know I'm grateful." The universe held its breath. Vax's massive form shimmered, shrinking back to his humanoid shape. He landed softly on the roof, his eyes fixed on the simple paper card. Above them, the Zelkari fleet waited, weapons still charged. Kyle's finger hovered over the emergency response button. One wrong move, and everything exploded. The Dragon Emperor knelt down, bringing himself to Lily's eye level. With trembling hands, the same hands that had destroyed armies and shattered mountains, he reached out and took the card. He opened it carefully, as if it might disintegrate at his touch. Inside, more stick figures. The dragon was smiling in this one. The girl was holding his hand. The words read, in simple block letters, "Thank you for being kind, even when you're sad. You're the best emperor ever." From Lily. Something wet glistened on Vaxi's bronze scales. Tears. The 10,000-year-old Dragon Emperor was crying. "In all my years," he whispered, his voice cracking, "in all my centuries of rule, through countless tributes and offerings, no one has ever simply thanked me." He looked at Lily, and for the first time Kyle could remember, the Emperor smiled, a real smile, not the cold diplomatic expression he usually wore. They bring me treasures to buy my favor. They shower me with gifts to gain my power. But you, child, you gave me this because you felt grateful, not because you wanted something in return. Lily nodded solemnly. My mama, before she died, she told me always say thank you when someone helps you. You helped me by giving me a job. So I wanted to say thank you properly. Vaxith stood, clutching the card to his chest. He looked up at the Zelkari fleet, and his expression hardened. But there was something different now. Not rage. Clarity. Zelkari Commander, he called out, his voice carrying through magic. You came here demanding respect. But respect is not taken by force. It is not bought with treasures. This child has taught me something I had forgotten in my long life. Gratitude freely given is worth more than all the wealth in the galaxy. Silence from the fleet. Then, cautiously, the commander responded. What are you saying, Emperor? I am saying I was wrong. The admission seemed to cost Vaxith something, but he continued. I rejected your gifts out of pride and emptiness. I have been hollow for so long, I forgot what it meant to feel anything real. You tried to honor me in the only way you knew how. For that, you deserve my acknowledgement, not my scorn. Kyle watched his tactical display. The weapons were still charged, but something was shifting. The Zelkari ships were holding position, waiting. I cannot accept your gifts, Vaxith continued, because acceptance would imply obligation, and I will not bind our peoples in false debt. But I will accept your intent. You came in honor, not malice. That deserves recognition. The Zelkari commander was quiet for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, he laughed. The great dragon emperor admits fault. I never thought I would see this day. Very well, Emperor. We withdraw our demands, though I must ask, what changed your mind? What could a child possibly give you that we could not? Vaxith looked down at Lily, still clutching her handmade card. She gave me the one thing I truly lacked. Genuine connection. No ulterior motives. No political maneuvering. Just honest gratitude from someone who expected nothing in return. He paused. It was worth more than everything else combined. The Zelkari fleet began to withdraw. Crisis averted. Kyle sagged against the rooftop access door, relief flooding through him. Amy appeared beside him, looking equally exhausted. Did that actually just happen? She muttered. Did a 10-year-old orphan just prevent a galactic war with a greeting card? Apparently, Kyle replied. He watched as Vaxith led Lily back inside, the Emperor's hand resting gently on her shoulder. They were talking, and for the first time, Vaxith looked almost human, vulnerable, real. Over the next week, word spread across the galaxy. The Dragon Emperor had finally accepted a gift, not from a powerful empire or wealthy collective, from a human orphan with a handmade card. The political implications were staggering. Dozens of species scrambled to understand. They sent anthropologists to study human culture. They investigated the concept of thank you cards, of gratitude without expectation. Some thought it was a trick, a human plot to gain influence. Others saw it as a profound shift in imperial politics. Kyle found himself fielding questions from ambassadors at all hours. What makes human gratitude special? They asked. How can we replicate this? What is the secret? He didn't have good answers. Lily hadn't done anything complicated. She'd just been herself, honest and kind, but apparently that was revolutionary. The real changes happened within the palace itself. Vaxith stopped destroying gifts. Well, he still didn't accept most of them, but his rejections became polite, even apologetic. He explained that he appreciated the thought but didn't need the items. Some ambassadors went home confused but not insulted. More importantly, Vaxith started spending time with Lily. Not as emperor and subject, but as something approaching friends. Kyle would see them in the palace gardens, Vaxith in his humanoid form, listening as Lily chattered about her day. The ancient dragon seemed fascinated by the simple details of her life, her favorite foods, her dreams of becoming a teacher, the games she played with other orphan workers. She reminds me of what I'd forgotten, Vaxith told Kyle one evening. They stood on a balcony overlooking the city, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and purple. When you live for thousands of years, you forget that life is made of small moments, simple joys. I became obsessed with grand gestures and great powers. I lost sight of what actually matters. And what's that? Kyle asked. Vaxith smiled, still holding Lily's card. He'd kept it with him constantly, protected by a preservation spell. connection. Being seen not for what you can do, but for who you are. But not everyone was happy with these changes. 3 weeks after Lily gave Vaxith the card, trouble arrived in the form of High Counselor Mordrin, a dragon nearly as old as Vaxith himself. He materialized in the throne room without warning, his silver scales gleaming with barely contained fury. "You've gone soft," Mordrin snarled, his voice like grinding stone. "The other dragon lords are talking. They say you've been corrupted by human sentiment, that you've allowed a mere child to manipulate you." Vaxith stood from his throne, meeting Mordrin's challenge calmly. "If understanding gratitude is corruption, then perhaps I needed corrupting. I was empty before, Mordrin, a hollow shell playing at power. You were strong, feared, respected." Mordrin's claws scraped against the marble floor. "Now you're weak. You apologize to inferior species. You spend your time with orphans. The dragon clans are losing faith in your leadership." Kyle tensed, his hand moving to his weapon. Amy had already signaled for backup, but what could human soldiers do against 2 ancient dragons if they decided to fight? "Let them lose faith," Vaxis said quietly. "I spent 10,000 years being what everyone expected. Powerful, merciless, untouchable. And I was miserable every single day. Lily showed me there's another way. A human child," Mordrin spat the words like poison. "They live for barely a century. What could she possibly teach you? That a century of genuine feeling is worth more than 10,000 years of emptiness." Mordrin's eyes blazed. "The Council demands you reject this human influence. Return to your duties as Emperor. If you refuse, they will call for a challenge to your throne." Kyle's blood went cold. A dragon challenge meant combat to the death. Winner took everything. Vaxith was powerful, but he was also showing vulnerability for the first time in millennia. Other dragons might see that as weakness, an opportunity to seize control. "Let them challenge," Vaxith replied. "I will not return to what I was. Not for the Council. Not for anyone." Mordrin studied him for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, the old dragon laughed. It was a harsh sound, but there was something almost admiring in it. "You've finally found your spine. Not the spine of power and domination, but the spine to choose your own path." He shook his head. "I came here to intimidate you, to bring you back in line. But I see now that would be impossible. You've changed too much. Does that mean you'll support me?" "It means I'll abstain from the vote." Mordrin turned to leave, then paused. "But be warned, Vaxith. The young dragons are hungry for power. They see your transformation as weakness. They will come for you. And when they do, all the gratitude in the universe won't save you from their claws." After Mordrin left, Vaxith slumped into his throne. For the first time, Kyle saw genuine fear in the Emperor's eyes. "He's right. A challenge is coming, and if I lose, whoever takes my place will undo everything. They'll return to the old ways. Brutality, domination, terror. Then we fight," Kyle said firmly. "Humanity didn't join the Galactic Council to watch good leaders get torn down. We've got your back, Your Majesty." Vaxith looked at him with something like gratitude. "Your species is remarkable. So quick to defend even when the fight isn't yours. Lily made it our fight when she gave you that card. She's one of ours, and you've been good to her. That makes you family in my book." The challenge came 2 days later. Drake Vorshin, a dragon lord barely 3,000 years old, arrived with an army of supporters. Young dragons ambitious and ruthless, who saw Vaxith's compassion as a disease to be purged. They gathered on the vast plains outside the palace, their war cries shaking the earth. "Vaxith the Weak," Vorshin called out, his voice amplified by magic. "I challenge you for the throne. You have disgraced our kind with your human sentiments. You have made us look soft before the lesser species. I will restore our proper place as rulers and conquerors." The gathered dragons roared their approval. Kyle watched from the palace walls, his stomach churning. The human military had mobilized, but orders from Earth were clear. Do not intervene in dragon politics unless directly attacked. This was Vaxith's battle to fight. Lily appeared beside Kyle, her face pale but determined. "He's going to fight, isn't he?" "Yes. He doesn't have a choice." "Because of my card?" Her voice was small, scared. Did I make things worse? Kyle knelt down, meeting her eyes. "You made things better, Lily. You gave him something worth fighting for. Before, he was just going through the motions. Now he has a reason to win." Vaxith emerged from the palace in his full dragon form, massive and terrible, but Kyle noticed something different. The Emperor's movements were lighter somehow, less burdened. His eyes, usually cold and distant, burned with purpose. "I accept your challenge, Vorshin," Vaxith declared. "But know this. I do not fight to maintain power. I fight because the galaxy deserves better than rulers who lead through fear alone. This child taught me that strength without compassion is just cruelty with a crown. If you defeat me, you'll prove only that might makes right, but that's a lie, and I'll die proving it false." Vorshin laughed. "Pretty words won't save you, old dragon. You've grown weak, consorting with humans. I'll tear you apart and scatter your bones as a warning to others who forget their place. Then come." Vaxus spread his wings wide. "Let's see if compassion truly is weakness, or if you've forgotten that the strongest steel is forged through fire and tempered with care." The two dragons launched themselves into the sky, and the battle for the future of the Empire began. Vorshin struck first, breathing a column of white-hot plasma that turned the clouds to steam. Vaxith banked hard, the attack missing by meters. He countered with a blast of his own, golden fire that seemed to burn reality itself. Vorshin took the hit on his armored chest, roaring in pain and fury. They collided mid-air with a sound like thunder. Claws raked against scales, teeth snapped at throats. They tumbled through the sky, a whirlwind of destruction. Every impact sent shockwaves across the plains below. Several young dragons had to scatter to avoid being crushed by falling debris. Kyle watched through binoculars, his jaw clenched. Vaxith was skilled, no question. 10,000 years of experience showed in every move. But Vorshin was younger, faster, driven by ambition and rage. And he fought dirty. When Vaxith pulled back to catch his breath, Vorshin didn't give him space. He pressed the attack, relentless, forcing the Emperor to defend rather than counter. Claw strikes opened wounds along Vaxith's flanks. A tail swipe nearly broke his wing. Blood, glowing with magical energy, rained down on the battlefield. "He's losing," Amy said quietly. "Vorshin's wearing him down." Lily grabbed Kyle's arm. "We have to help him. We can't." Dragon law is absolute. If anyone interferes, Vaxith automatically forfeits. "That's stupid." Tears streamed down Lily's face. "He's going to die because he was nice to me." "That's not fair." Kyle had no answer. She was right. It wasn't fair. But fairness had never been the galaxy's strong suit. Below, Vorshin landed a devastating blow. His claws tore through Vaxith's shoulder, sending the Emperor spiraling toward the ground. Vaxith hit hard, creating a crater 30 feet wide. He struggled to rise, his movements sluggish. Blood pooled beneath him. Vorshin descended slowly, savoring his victory. "Any last words, old dragon? Any wisdom you'd like to share before I end your pathetic existence?" Vaxith coughed, more blood staining his teeth. But he smiled. "Just one thing. You fight for power. For dominance. For pride." He reached into a dimensional pocket, pulling out the handmade card, miraculously intact despite the battle. "But I fight for this. For a child who saw past my anger to the loneliness beneath. For gratitude freely given. For the possibility that we can be more than monsters." "Sentimental garbage," Vorshin snarled. He raised his claws for the killing blow. "D with your precious human feelings." Then something unexpected happened. The other dragons, the ones who had come to support Vorshin, began to murmur. Some looked uncertain. A few actually backed away. Because in that moment, covered in blood and beaten down, Vaxith looked more powerful than he ever had sitting on his throne. "He's not weak," one young dragon said, her voice carrying across the plain. "He's brave, fighting for something beyond himself. When's the last time any of us did that?" "Silence," Vorshin roared. But more dragons were speaking up now, questioning. The tide was shifting. Vaxith used that moment. He gathered every ounce of magic he had left, pulling from reserves he'd forgotten existed. His body began to glow, bronze scales shining like a newborn star. This was old magic, the kind that came not from power, but from purpose. He surged upward, catching Vorshin completely off guard. His claws found purchase in the younger dragon's chest. His jaws clamped around Vorshin's throat, and he held there, not biting down, not killing, just holding. "I could end you," Vaxith said, his voice steady despite his wounds. "One bite, and you're gone." That's what the old me would have done. Eliminate the threat, prove my dominance. But that dragon was empty. "Push him back. You challenged me to reclaim the old ways. I refuse. I reject your vision of strength through cruelty. If you want this throne, you'll have to kill me. But I won't kill you." Not today. Vortian stared at him, stunned. You're letting me live? After I tried to destroy you? I'm showing you there's another path. One where we lead through wisdom, not terror. Where we protect rather than dominate. Where we remember that every life, no matter how brief or small, has value. Vaxith looked up at the gathered dragons. This is my answer to your challenge. Not violence. Not domination. Choice. I choose compassion. I choose to be better. And I invite all of you to make the same choice. Silence fell across the plains. Then, slowly, one dragon bowed, then another. Then dozens. Even some of Vortian's supporters bent their necks in respect. Not because they feared Vax's power, but because they recognized his courage. Vortian himself stood frozen, his worldview shattered. He'd expected death or humiliation. Instead, he'd received mercy and challenged both. I don't understand, he finally said. How can mercy be strength? Because it takes more courage to spare than to kill. More strength to change than to stay the same. Vax's legs trembled, exhaustion catching up. Ask yourself, Vortian, what are you really fighting for? Power alone? Or something more? Before Vortian could answer, Lily broke free from Kyle's grip. She ran across the battlefield, her small form dodging debris and startled dragons. She reached Vaxith and threw her arms around his massive foreleg as much as she could reach. You're okay, she sobbed. I was so scared. Vaxith shifted to his humanoid form, nearly collapsing. He knelt and hugged Lily properly. I'm okay, thanks to you. Your gift gave me something worth fighting for. Kyle jogged up, Amy and a medical team right behind him. They began treating Vaxith's wounds while the Dragon Lords watched, and in that moment, everything changed. The gathered dragons saw their emperor bleeding and exhausted, being cared for by humans, being comforted by a child, being vulnerable and real and completely, totally okay with it. Vortian approached slowly, his head lowered. I was wrong. I see that now. You're not weak. You're the strongest dragon I've ever met. Teach all of us. Help us become something better than monsters. Vaxith smiled through his pain. He pulled out Lily's card one more time, showing it to Vortian and the assembled dragons. It starts with this, with gratitude, with recognizing the value in simple gifts, with understanding that power means nothing without purpose, and purpose comes from connection. Word spread across the galaxy within hours. The Dragon Emperor had faced a challenge to his throne, and won not through violence, but through mercy. He had shown strength by choosing compassion. And at the center of it all was a simple handmade card from a human orphan who just wanted to say thank you. Embassies from dozens of species sent new delegations. But this time, they didn't bring treasures or weapons or technology. They brought letters, stories, personal thanks for Vax's leadership. Some brought photographs of their families. Others brought memories and histories. Gifts that couldn't be measured in credits or power, but in meaning and connection. Vax accepted every one. He displayed them in the throne room, replacing the cold marble and gold with warmth and life. And at the very center, in a place of honor, he kept Lily's card, the gift that changed an emperor and reshaped a galaxy. 3 months later, Kyle found Vaxith and Lily in the palace gardens again. The emperor was teaching her about ancient magic, while she taught him about human holidays and traditions. Fair trade, Kyle thought. Commander, Vaxith called out. Come join us. Lily's trying to explain something called pizza, and I'm convinced she's making it up. It's real, Lily insisted, laughing. It's bread with sauce and cheese, and it's the best thing ever. Kyle grinned. She's right. Maybe we should order some for the palace. Cultural exchange and all. An excellent idea. Vax's smile was genuine, unguarded. He looked younger somehow, despite his ancient years. Or maybe not younger, just alive in a way he hadn't been before. As Kyle watched him, he thought about how strange the universe was, how one small act of honest gratitude had prevented a war, changed an empire, and taught an ancient dragon how to feel again. Humanity's contribution to the Galactic Council wouldn't be measured in weapons or wealth. It would be measured in handmade cards and simple thank yous, in recognizing that even emperors needed connection, in understanding that the smallest gesture, given with genuine feeling, could reshape everything. And maybe, Kyle thought, that was the most human thing of all.